Alright, this is a how to mix and master tutorial. Well, not particularly mastering, but how to mix your beats. I'm going to try to get this done in under 15 minutes. It might not. We might take a little bit of extra time. I've already mixed this beat, so I'm going to be walking you through my step by step. So the first thing that you're going to do is called gain staging. And that is where, normally when you're in FL Studio, your tracks start here. The reason why we're pulling them down that far is so that, and fuck, I don't have the history thing. Current project history. There we go. Um, but the reason why we're doing this and pulling them down so far is so that we can put compression on the channels and we can put compression on the tracks that the compression the compressor basically what that does is it glues everything together while also allowing you to add volume and add weight to your tracks. That's gonna make this shit a lot easier. Uh, A on your ears, B to mix like in general. Cause like let's say you got everything way up at the top. So we'll jump back to here. Okay, I guess we can't jump back to there because my history doesn't want to let me. But when you got like let's say you got everything at the top, like how these are, you got everything routed through at the top. Um, that's gonna fuck you up. That's gonna make it almost impossible for you to make it louder without clipping. Because anything above this line right here is bad. Bad, 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 bad. Um, it makes mixing your track impossible. Everything's gonna sound flat. Everything's gonna sound fucked up. Um, but then what you're gonna do after you pull everything down, you're not gonna have these set up yet. These are buses. We'll talk about those here in a few minutes. Um, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull all of these down in equal amount because they're gonna start at 0. So then you're gonna pull them all down low, like underneath this line usually, or at least at that line. And then you're gonna pick what instruments you want to be the loudest in the track. Um, so like let's say for me, I like to have my kick and my 808 be the loudest instruments in the track. So we're gonna turn these on so that you can hear it, and we'll turn the effects off on this and this. Um, and then, all right, I don't have any master effects. I don't know why I lost that. Well, we're not gonna worry about that. We'll just add those later. And what we're doing is, um, we're going in and we're putting them through here. But just to hear these at the volume that I want them, you're gonna have. Which doesn't sound very loud, right? But when you put it in context with everything else, turning effects off, um, you're gonna go. You hear how the 808 sounds louder than everything else? That's the process. I gotta turn the effects on all of these again. Okay. So that's that. That's what the volume mixing is. You're picking the instruments that you want to be the loudest. And you have to do this by ear. You can't just do it by the knob. Because if you just do it by the knob, you're you can drag it up, but this instrument might sound low as fuck when you have it pulled up to here, or if you have it matching this, it might look like, yo, this track is louder, but it's not. And so that's where you have to do a lot of this by ear. You have to pick what instruments you want. Picking the instruments does it for you. Um, so you pick the instruments, you do it by ear. It's extra steps, it's hard, but it's important to get your volume to where you want it to be. Um, so that does that. Um, so you got to do this for every individual instrument. Next step, and this is where the buses get involved. So what you do, you take, like, for example, I have 3 melody instruments. I'm going to run those to one of these channels. You're going to rename it like melody bus, or if you just want to call it melody, or if you just want to call it whatever. I don't care what you call your buses, or what you call these. You could call these like the sample name. I rename it because I don't want to give you all the sample riz. But then you run them through the melody bus, and then what you do on this melody bus is you're going to, and let's just keep, we'll just listen to just the melody without the effects. Without the effects, you hear how the melody is, it's still quiet because we haven't added the compression yet. So then here, the first thing that I like to do is I like to put an EQ. I like the kind of like the sizzle in my melody. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it with other plugins like Fresh Air or whatever. This is just simple and easy. Then this was one of the harsh frequencies in it, so I just turned it down. And then I put a low cut that basically what you're doing is you're creating room for your 808 and for your bass and your kick and all of that. You're creating room by doing that. And if I turn this off, you can see I guess I can't turn it off. I just have to turn the power off on that. You hear how there's these frequencies over here? Those are going to clash with your 808. So by turning that on, you're cutting out those frequencies from being able to hit. Saves you a lot of time, saves you space. Then we're going to put a compressor on it. I kind of just am a preset junkie. But you can use whatever compressor you want. You can do whatever. The only thing I did to this preset, and it looks insane to turn the gain up that loud, but because we have these volume knobs so low, these sliders so low, you kind of have to. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but it's it's just good practice. I do it this way. You can do it this way. You can do it another way if you want. You can think I'm full of shit. I don't really care. But then we're gonna do the same thing to the top drums. We're gonna put an EQ that cuts the lows. I like to have my snares be a little bit louder as well as my hi-hats. So by turning these frequencies up and this frequency up, boom, you've got those so that they're a little louder. And then we'll do it with the kick and the 808 as well. I do this flat tilt and pull it down just because I want the low end of the bass. I don't want the high end. That's going to clash with the remaining instruments. It's going to clash with the melody. It's going to clash. It's going to sound like shit. So then we're going to put another compressor. You can't use just the same preset. And this one I didn't use a preset. I changed some of these around. And I turned the gain up, the wet gain, and turned the dry gain down. That's important. You don't need any dry gain because that's just shit. And then you're going to send your buses to another bus. I call it to master because this is, if you look at all of these tracks, there are none of them that run to the master. Like these tracks over here, they're not getting used. They run to the master. Every single one of these tracks runs to a bus. And the buses run to this bus, and then this bus runs to the master. You don't have to do this. It's just an extra layer of leveling, and it allows for some EQing, some dynamic EQing. So what I do here on this to master channel is I take and I pull the mid-range out. Like, if you hear in a song, like you're like, damn, he's in that pocket, like that's because they EQ'd the beat to his voice. When you're uploading your beats to YouTube, you can't really do that. So, what you do is you find the general area of where most people's voices, like the boom of them, are. And, some of this is a little bit like you kind of have to be, uh, you kind of have to like choose your audience. So, like when I'm making a Gunna beat, which is what this is, um, you want to, uh, you want to put it where like a male voice would typically be. Sounds a little sexist. Sounds a little bit like why don't you put it where a woman's voice would be? Because women aren't my target audience with this beat. If I was making Cardi B type beats or Megan Thee Stallion type beats, I would pull this a little bit further up. I would pull this, to an area where it's gonna be better for that type of voice. Same thing with an R&B beat. With an R&B type beat, I'm gonna pull it further up just purely for the sake of when people sing, they don't typically sing at this range. You know, most of the time, like a rap voice is gonna fall here, but when you're singing, it's gonna fall closer over here. And some guys, some gals are even able to hit like these ranges. So you kind of have to be careful and you kind of have to figure out where your pocket is. That's something that's easier to do in the studio with the artist than it is when you're making a beat for YouTube. But if you want your beats, I meant to say this at the beginning. If you want your beats to sound like you ran them through a professional, like a massive, like $1,000 board, you don't need that. You can do a lot of this in FL Studio, in Ableton, in any of this shit. You can get that effect just by taking some extra steps, some extra time, you know? So then this is another, like, this is just kind of like some riz that I found out. There's a lot of like bad frequencies that exist in the 160 hertz range. So by putting a dynamic EQ here, that you pull it down just ever so slightly. You see, I just pulled it down like 1 dB, um, which in the grand scheme of things isn't much. Um, that's going to really help your it's going to help your sound, it's going to help your track, it's going to make it so that boom isn't there. And it also covers a little bit like a male voice is going to be lower down in there. There's going to be a harmonic that is lower down here. So that's why you pull that down. Then the next thing we got is a soft clipper. A soft clipper is, and I'm getting close to my 15 minutes, I already know. So I'm going to try to rush this a little bit. But the soft clipper adds saturation, which if you don't know what saturation is, we'll turn this all the way up so that you can hear it. Let me make sure the master effects. Okay, I actually didn't put any effects on my master. We're going to do that. But the soft clipper to be dramatic so that you can hear it. So it helps add like a little bit of sizzle as well as a little bit of like compression, and it glues everything together. It pulls everything together. Then I'm gonna put 2 plugins on my master channel, really. 2 plugins. We're gonna keep it mad simple. So the first plugin, and I don't know how to do this in Ableton, so if you're an Ableton user or if you use any DAW other than FL Studio, I'm sorry, I don't know how to help you here. But you're gonna take Maximus, you're gonna turn the compressor off on every single one of these. Make sure that you're not a dumb fuck and you click off, because like if we click off, all you're gonna hear is the low sound. So you want to just do comp off. Don't do muted or off, but definitely don't do on because you're adding an extra compressor. We don't want that. The only one that we want that on is the low end, and that's because we're not going to touch these. We're not going to touch the pre-gain, post-gain. We're not going to touch any of this shit. We're not going to touch any of We're going to touch one thing. One thing. We're going to touch this. Then we're going to pull this low knob to between 70 and 100 hertz, because what you want is just the low end of the 808, because Well, let me finish it and then I'll explain. So the reason why you want that is because what this is doing is this is merging the low end so that it's all mono. And what that's doing is making it so that, like, if you ever listen to music on a sub, like if you've been to a concert and heard it when they're running it through subs, or in the back of some fucking homie's car where he's got, a sub and it's so what you're doing is you're making it so that it sounds better through that. Because subs and low end is not made to be heard in stereo. By hearing it in stereo, it's going to make this weird like phasing effect, which fine, but not fine. Because to make your mix sound professional, to make your mix sound a lot better, you're going to do that. So you're going to do that, then you click the solo knob again. You want it off, because if you have the solo knob, all you're going to hear is. So turn that off. Run this through here. Next thing, after we put the Maximus on there, we are going to grab, you guessed it, a soft clipper. You might not actually have guessed it, but that doesn't matter. Pull the threshold all the way down. And then you want your soft clipper to hit between here and here. I like to have it hit here, just for the sake of, it makes it so that it's like a little bit more crispy and it's a little bit louder. But you got this. And you're going to look at this and you're going to be like, wait, Slim, why is it not peaking at above 0? Or why is it not peaking at 0? Because, well, A, part of that is wanting to have room for the beat to get turned up so that then when the rapper is on the shit, they can master it and they don't have to worry about, damn, that beat's so loud. But if you're dead set on having it do that, which is fine, if that's what you want, everybody has a little bit of a different approach. Everybody does it different. But you can do this, and then that's still not hitting there. So then we pull our buses up. You do not want it to hit above 0. If it hits above 0, you're fucked. It's going to clip. Don't do that. I'm personally going to pull these back down. I'm going to pull it down to -3 or 4 for the sake of I like having room. You don't have to do that. You could do however you want, however you feel. But that's really the gist of it. So let me just pull this up for you. We'll run the 8-bar one time in full. All right, so that's it mixed. You heard it before it was mixed at the very beginning of the video. Y'all please, please, if you learn nothing from this video, do the gain staging. It's important. If you pulled nothing else from this video, gain staging, crucial, critical, important. So you guys all, I hope that you guys are able to mix your beats. I hope you guys are able to master your beats a little bit better. We're not doing a ton of mastering, but that's, I hope that you guys were able to learn how to mix a little bit better, learn how to, learn how some of the plugins work, learn how some of the stuff is done. I know I ran 5 minutes longer than I wanted to, but, I just wanted to be as in-depth as possible. And, if you guys want it, I can run maybe another, I could run a 20-minute or a 30-minute or, well, this is a 20-minute. I can run a 30-minute, 40-minute, 1-hour video. I don't really know. Whatever you guys want. I could break down the making and the mixing of a track all in one. So with that, I'm going to get the hell out of here. Y'all be safe. Y'all be easy. Don't be dying out here. Peace.